Do I regret Chasca? Absolutely not at this point. Chasca has proven to be one of the best animo characters to ever be an animo character. I mean, legitimately, the only person I think who goes in like ahead of her is actually it's Kazuha. Like, that is where she's at, because if you look at the prehistoric animo characters of Zhao and Venti and other animo characters I am completely forgetting about, so looking at all the animo characters in the game, based on how good and effective they've been, I mean, we're talking like Chasca is genuinely just behind Kazuha. There is a case to be said for Lanyan, but Lanyan hasn't really been optimal on any team. At least with Chasca, she's the main DPS. She's optimal on her team, obviously. I mean, it's just simple math. At worst, she's number 3 because you think Lanyan's more. And Senyun is just a no. Like, this character, she aged out as soon as 5.0 dropped. I'm sorry to tell you. Yeah, she didn't age well. So yeah, Chasca is legitimately probably the second best animo character to ever be animo character. And the reason for this being is because this character is highly versatile and will be very good for basically any Stygian Onslaught enemy. I imagine what we're going to see, we've already seen 3. We saw 2 this time, so we're now, 5 out of 6, which I think that was more of an issue of the turtle being the enemy. The turtle exploited Chasca's only weakness, which is the fact that she hits a whole bunch of times rather than, small amounts of times. But then the exact opposite could be said for Mulaney and Mavuika, right? They don't hit enough times. So, for, shields like the Papilla, they don't do it as effectively. So it's something you can look at and be like, well, yeah, that's Chasca's weakness. It's legitimately her only weakness, though. Because Chasca, while she is very much so a team-wide damage dealer, right? She's not necessarily a hyper-carry character, right? We're not looking at Mavuika doing 3 million damage, C0R1. We're looking at Chasca do 2 million damage, and her team is doing damage on top of that, right? Like, well, not 2 million. 1.5 million. I should, preface that. 1.5 million. I rounded up a little too much. But yeah, Chasca can do a lot of damage herself. She can. So Chasca is not bad whatsoever. Even me using her on Aqua Simulacra, sure, I constantly, most of the time I'm using her with a C2 Mavuika, but Mavuika is just her best support, generally, right? Generally, Mavuika will be in her best in slot team because she is the best support that she can have. Because Mavuika's off-field damage does a lot, gives her the Pyro infusion on her hits, and it just is overall good because she's also giving her 40% damage bonus, if you didn't know. So it's not like, oh, Mavuika's only there because she does damage. No, Mavuika's there because Mavuika gives 40% damage bonus to all of Chasca's hits, which, guess what? Is very useful when you're a character who doesn't have damage bonus or who doesn't have a really effective way of getting damage bonus through your artifact set. Chasca's not a character who has 46% default, right? Mavuika here, 46% pyro damage, right? Chasca doesn't get this because Chasca is doing 3 different elements constantly, so you're better off doing an attack percent goblet. Whereas, Mavuika comes in, 40% damage bonus to every single one of Mavuika's hits, which is incredibly effective when you pair it with no Fiorino on the team, right? Let's say you're running a, Mavuika, Silali, Eon-san team, right? Sure, Mavuika is going to do a lot of damage, but you know who else is going to do a lot of damage? And you know why Mavuika is on the team also? Not just because she does damage, right? She's giving 40% damage bonus to Chasca, which will be well, I believe it should be, I don't think anything else would get factored in when damage bonus gets factored in, so it should be a direct, 40% damage increase. The Chasca's damage, having Mavuika on the field, not, assuming you don't have, Silali's weapon or anything, no other forms of damage bonus, it should be a direct 40% damage uplift, because what this is, I believe, because if you come here and you're like, oh no, well, she's got 65% built in, this is not 65%. What this is a base pure buff. This is like Nevi's passive. Nevi's passive here is not damage bonus. It is a pure buff. So 160% is really 160%, the same way that Chasca works here. So a lot of people, I feel like, do underrate the fact that, you know, like, 65% pure damage, right? So Chasca's missing a lot of damage if you're pairing her with a double Hydro team or a double Pyro team, whichever, double any element that she works with, right? You don't want to do that. You want to pair her with 3 different elements that work differently. And Chasca can do very well, and she does very well without even, you know, relying on Mavwika that hugely. Yes, she uses Mavwika, but again, it's because Mavwika is the best support. But it's not just because Mavwika is doing damage is why she's on field. Like, Chasca is just genuinely probably the most underrated character in the game at this point. I feel like people really do not, like, listen, I was with you guys. If this had happened in 5.6 or 5.7, whenever before Stygian got out, right? Before Stygian, if this had happened during, you know, that time, and she got her rerun, and I made this video, I would have said, absolutely, I hate this character. You have to be able to change your opinion based on what you're presented with. You can't just say Chasca's mid, because it's not true anymore. It isn't, because now the content is tailored towards her. Spiral Abyss is not in-game content. I might make a video on that. Genuinely, Spiral Abyss is no longer in-game content. It's just simple as that. It's too easy. But now the content is made for Chasca. It has heavily benefited Chasca. Now, did I recommend anybody to summon on Chasca, though? Did I? No. No, because I didn't. I didn't recommend people summon for Chasca. I really did not, because I don't think that this character will age well. All right, so yeah, here's the other part of the video. I don't think this character is going to age well. Right now, she's great. She feels like a weak version of Nevi, right? Nevi is a character who has a lot of teams, works with every, you know, sub DPS support character, and he works, right? Because he gets benefits from using different elements. It's really good. However, you know, Nevi is Hydro constantly. So if you go against a Hydro immune enemy, it's not going to happen. Whereas Chasca, she has that ability to do that. So overall, Chasca's weaker. But against a Hydro immune enemy, Chasca can actually put her foot down and be like, no, you're not, you know, immune. I'm not going to take that. And Chasca can, you know, hurt the enemy, right? Absolutely, she can hurt the enemy. So genuinely, I mean, this character is by far the #1, like, most underrated character in the game. If I had to put her in, like, a DPS list, which I'm making a support and DPS list eventually, towards the end of this update, probably a week before 6.0 drops, I will make that list. And do not, you know, be like, oh, don't be, you know, crazy when I have Chasca up there as, like, you know, I don't know what number she is. I don't know. I could see her as high as maybe like 6 as like the best DPS in the game. It would be, I'll have to look into it, because I'm looking at, you know, because obviously there's a couple that obviously are going to be over her no matter what. You know, Chasca's damage, purely just looking at her damage, it is not enough. It's just not enough. I really, yeah, she's good. She's really versatile. She can clear a lot of the fearless content. However, her damage, right? Like, I said 1.5 million at the beginning of this video. That's true. But that is also on a melt team or on a vape team, I believe. One of the two. But you're not always going to be melting and vaping. Simple as that. So Chasca can be really good. She can do a lot of damage on those type of teams. But what happens when you use Electrocharge, right? And you have, you know, Cryo, Hydro, and Electro. Her damage does not do that well. Her damage falls off. It does. You're not doing nearly 200,000 on your charge hits, right? You're just not. I am, you know, I definitely would say I would support Chasca fully here. She is one of the better characters in the game at this point. I don't think calling her mid is a apt description. I don't, because this character genuinely is not mid anymore. She is very effective, very good. That is where I would put her. I do not recommend people summon on her, because I think she is going to age out very well. You know, because again, she's not getting good clear times, but she's getting clear times, right? Whereas other DPSs, right, you know, we could take Ito against, you know, the cactus boss and he could clear it, but that's only because of Anefa. We take him against the other 2 bosses, he's not clearing it. He just isn't. So that's where we're at, right? Chasca here is a character who is getting clear times and is doing very well, but that's for right now. Stygian Onslaught 6.0 comes out. Oh, the enemies have 30% more HP. I would be heavily worried for Chasca. I don't think she could handle 30% more HP. I'm being honest. Being 100% honest. I don't think she could handle 30% more HP. I don't. She's very good right now, but we'll have to see, right? Obviously, I'm just saying 30%. I don't know anything. But, you know, if it happens, it probably will happen. I'm not so confident Chasca's going to be super, you know, loved in a couple months, right? Like, even me, I could easily end up saying, yeah, Chasca's awful, right? And literally, like, I'd give it 6.3. 6.3, come back to me, ask me, do you still think Chasca's very good? If I say yes, then I was wrong. I'll say till 6.3, Chasca will be very good when the Archon drops and, you know, we get massive, like, oh, now everybody's doing crazy damage. Because, you know, again, we had, like, Kinich come out. He wasn't that impressive. He had some wonkiness because his burn teammates weren't that good. And then he gets actual Mavuika, and it's like, oh, 40% damage bonus. You know, he just has a lot. Mega off-field damage. Just overall really strong character. Yeah, that fixed a lot of issues that Kinich had. And then, you know, same thing with Chasca even. So even if Flynn comes out and he seems all right, he's average level, right? He's Mulaney level or something. I would say probably that's what we're gonna see, right? Probably Mulaney level, maybe less clunky because again, I don't have Mulaney. We'll say Kinich level, sure, Kinich level, whatever. Say he's that level, but that's without his Archon level character who we're going to get. So that's where I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's when the power creep's gonna happen. That is where we're gonna see, you know, Megaton, you know, Chasca is now, you know, actually mid again, right? Because Chasca, if we start getting characters that are just gonna actually, because again, we don't have characters that are specifically made with Stygian in mind right now. We don't, because if I'm Mavuika, it's possible that she was, right? It's possible. Or it's possible that Stygian was designed for Mavuika, and then they designed Skirk around Mavuika, and then obviously Miss Coffee's been designed around Stygian, I would say. But then again, she's kind of just broken, so it's possible. I don't know. But, you know, it's possible they looked at Miss Coffee and were like, yeah, let's make her broken. We need someone for Stygian. It's possible. I'm just saying. But I would absolutely say that we have not seen proper characters. Like, Kinich is not designed for Stygian, right? We do have a lot of heavy E-skill characters. Like, we have Kinich, we have Chasca, we have a lot of these characters now are E-skill characters. It's an interesting thing. We don't know how necessarily long Stygian was in the pipelines for, you know, Genshin to release, right? It's possible that they thought about it before even 5.0 dropped. It is possible. I would say it's not likely that they had a real base plan. They might have, you know, it was like, oh, we're not going to start you out with full energy, and then they went from that. You know, it's possible that's what circulated in the office before they released Stygian, right? Before they started working on it. So that's why every, you know, Natlan character seemingly is an E-skill character. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I really do think that Chasca is very good at this point, and I think a lot of people are still set in their ways of like, oh, Chasca's mid or Chasca's bad, right? Because they just either just skipped her and didn't summon on her, and now they're just sticking with that one opinion that they had without accepting like Stygian is now our new in-game content, and Chasca's absolutely dominating Stygian. If I had to say anything, Chasca getting so many different clear times is good. And I do have to, you know, preface this again. I have a lot of characters. I have a lot of characters in game, right? Most of the characters in game. So it's understandable that I'd be a person who was like, oh yeah, Chess is super flexible and stuff, but I have to be like that because I tried to understand basically everyone, right? I get not everyone's gonna have Mavuika, Silala, Shield, and, you know, Chasca, right? Those are all very clumped together characters, and not a lot of them have gotten the reruns, or they've been reran in bad places, right? Have all of them gotten the reruns at this point? Maybe. But it is important to know, like, I have to do that, right? I have to be able to like have every single character so I can showcase them in different teams. And like, if Chasca is able to, you know, beat things in different teams, I have to give her the win for that. I can't just take that away because, oh, well, I used so many other 5 stars on this one other run that no, there's no way a free-to-play player could ever have so many 5 stars. No, I have to assume that everybody has every single 5-star. I'm sorry, but it is what I have to do. It's just because if I'm looking at a character, I mean, at this point, even looking at Stygian overall, they heavily reward you for having these niche 5 stars at this point. So I do have to kind of assume people have all of them. So yeah, like a Nefa utterly dominates the Cactus Boss. If you have a Nefa on your account, you never will struggle with the Cactus Boss. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Make sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.